Oh no, YouTube is testing more of those unskippable ads. Oh, that's my favorite part about YouTube, man. It's the advertisements. Now, I made a video about a week ago. I talked about YouTube Premium, and they had a light option that you pay a little bit and you still somehow get advertisements on some videos. Now, I think, when you're paying any amount of money, all right, you should probably get the ad-free stuff. Maybe that should be like a minimum. Otherwise, what's the point of giving you some ads and not giving you others? But, this whole situation just keeps getting more and more annoying, okay? YouTube has just more non-skippable ads. So, for instance, if you don't know, on YouTube, there's tons of ads, all right? You'll get ads above the recommended videos to the side. You'll get, a lot of your bumper ads, which thankfully after 5 seconds, you should in theory be able to skip. But let's say that you can't skip certain ads. Well, then you have to watch the whole thing all the way through. And sometimes if you're on TV, sometimes if you're on cell phones, you might get more than one unskippable ad to deal with, okay? So it feels that YouTube has kind of become more and more like cable television. And I understand it. YouTube's business is pretty massive, all right? It's not easy to run a huge video sharing website like YouTube, simply because there's so much content that's uploaded to it every day, and it's kind of insanely impressive for a lot of content creators that we can just upload our videos for free, and YouTube will let anybody around the world watch them in the highest possible quality that we can basically upload, right? Obviously, the highest quality a video streaming website can provide. Now, of course, to go forward into it, obviously, this is not a good thing, okay? For a lot of the consumers watching, you probably hate it every time you have to skip through videos. I have completely stopped watching YouTube channels that have way too many ads, all right? Usually I'll slap on an hour-long video, and I'll be playing a video game or doing some work or writing another script or doing research. And generally, if after every 5 minutes I see a goddamn ad and I have to alt-tab out of whatever I'm doing, go to the second screen and hit the skip ad button, if I do that more than maybe 4 times, I am never watching the channel again, okay? Simply because I have no issue with the content creator, I just have an issue with the amount of advertising that I'm seeing, okay? Watching cable television was something we all did when we were younger as children. But I think as we got older and we started to play around with the internet and we started using ad blockers all over the internet, okay, as recommended by the FBI, as recommended by plenty of cybersecurity firms, we started experiencing the internet and all the information without the nuisance of fucking cable TV. Nowadays, it's pretty difficult to kind of watch any streaming service without at least a trough of advertisements thrown your way. Now, I wouldn't personally have too much of an issue with this, but one of the big things about YouTube is obviously the ad quality isn't entirely there. Now, I have to censor this ad, but I found it, and, it wasn't my video, but I've seen other people talk about it. This is an advertisement that is running on YouTube. Now, I have to censor it because it is from an adult video, okay? Somebody put an adult video into the YouTube ad engine, and the ad is for something called one-on-one video chat, name, chat, and fun. Stop being lonely, call me. So basically, some meet and fuck service has basically just come into YouTube and advertised blatant adult videos. Now, if I put an adult video on my channel, you know what would happen? I would get a community guideline strike, and I would rightfully get that community guideline strike. But when you can do it in the ad system, for some reason, it's a whole different ball game of moderation. It's crazy? I just tried looking up the app on the App Store, and I think it just straight up got banned. Because it's just straight up another one of these adult porn apps on the actual App Store, which typically go up and down. So, if Apple's doing their moderation, I would expect at least Google to do some level of moderation for dog water like this. Now, one of the things that, prevent me from talking about every single solution to, the internet harmful advertisement pipeline, at least on YouTube, is something known as the harmful or dangerous content policy. Now, there's been plenty of YouTubers hit with this, and we're gonna go through a power round of history real quick. But this is a guideline, that we have to follow as YouTubers, because if we basically get 3 strikes, we're out of the game for good, okay? Now, some of these include, acts that are harmful or dangerous, right? minors participating in dangerous activities. It all makes sense, right? Like if you're, doing something stupid on the internet, something like jackass worthy, YouTube's probably not going to be a fan of it. Hey, weapons content. Are you teaching people how to perform activities that are meant to kill or severely harm others? Yeah, I can't upload videos where I teach you how to squad wipe a bunch of people with a firearm. That would be a no-no. Explosives? I can't teach you how to play with C4. That makes sense. Firearms policies, for a lot of gun tuber channels, they have to be really safe with the guns they show. Otherwise, YouTube's probably not going to be a huge fan. Now, alongside Semtech, C4, firearms, and all the other kinds of dangerous shit is all stuff related to computers. Now, when I do things like, computer, virus investigations, or when I talk about, cybersecurity stuff, and I walk through how things work, I have to be really careful. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick, but I have to be really careful because if I demonstrate how to use a computer or information technology with the intent to steal credentials, compromise personal data, and cause serious harm, I get a community guideline strike. It's kind of like, putting up like a show like Breaking Bad, and you want to make it look realistic, but you don't want to upload an episode where you actually teach people how to make methamphetamines. So generally speaking, if you watch any of my content regarding computer safety and security, I basically cover as much as I can, and I do omit crucial steps or sources so that, anybody watching my video can't just use it as a criminal tutorial, so to speak. Now, of course, there's other options like bypassing payment for digital content or services. So you can't teach people how to pirate movies and video games on the internet, right? Now, a couple days ago, I talked about how Ubisoft butt-fucked me with a game that I bought called Splinter Cell Conviction. And in the video, I pretty much have admitted that I had to go out into the internet and download a copy of that game. Now, I didn't teach people how to do it. I'm not teaching you how to pirate video games. I'm just giving you my personal experience without teaching you or telling you how to bypass. So I didn't break any community guideline strikes. But the thing is, this is not as cut and dry. For a lot of content creators, for like Linus Tech Tips, for instance, he was talking about, de-Googling your life. Basically omitting as much of Google's tracking and Google software as much as you can on their platform, YouTube. Now, inside this video, he did get taken down, and he actually explained why he got taken down. This happened 9 months ago, so listen carefully.
August 20th, we published De-Google Your Life Part 2, and after about 2 weeks and 1.4 million views, YouTube took the video down and gave us a warning for violating their terms of service, or TOS. But why? I mean, we've uploaded numerous other videos that cover topics like ad blocking, VPNs, and alternative YouTube clients. What is it that made this video specifically harmful or dangerous?
So he makes a pretty good point. All right, I made plenty of videos where, one video that I made was Piehole, right? Where I walked you guys through how to basically add a network-wide ad blocker to your system. Now that video has absolutely done pretty well on my channel, and to show you how this stuff works is a little Raspberry Pi that I ended up buying. It's a one-time investment where I set it up with something called Piehole, and I was able to basically block tons of trackers. So for instance, right over here, you can see that I was blocking things like live.com, I was blocking stuff from Adobe, I was blocking stuff from Google, I was blocking a lot of domains that genuinely were not helpful to me whatsoever, okay? These were domains designed to effectively track me on the internet or serve me malicious advertisement, which if you're on my computer or anybody that accesses my network, you'll find out very quickly that you cannot access any of these ads. If you connect to my Wi-Fi, you get routed through this little Raspberry Pi, which protects my actual users from getting hit. So for instance, every single client on my home network, well, every single one of those clients is actually protected. So all of their queries, millions of them at times, are all protected by this Piehole. Now, obviously, YouTube didn't really care about that, and honestly, they haven't cared about it. But for Linus, what he showcased was something that is a severe no-no.
Part of the answer in this explainer paragraph that says that this category applies to videos which violate YouTube's terms of service or, emphasis here, encourage other users to do so, which includes content that provides instructions on how to download YouTube videos in an unauthorized manner. There's a lot to unpack here, starting with that I don't understand how that is harmful or dangerous. except maybe to Google's bottom line.
You actually answered it perfectly fine. Now, before you start to wonder if the internet Gestapo is all around you, right? Like, hey man, are you allowed to talk about this dangerous software? Now, of course, obviously, I would personally say that a, computer virus software, like WannaCry, a ransomware that can take away your information at any given second, is actually harmful and dangerous. But do I think that something like a YouTube download tool is necessarily harmful or dangerous? No. Unless, of course, you're YouTube's bottom line. Then, of course, ad blocking, downloading videos for personal consumption is a no-no. YouTube provides you the ability to download videos, provided they, either are your own videos and you can download them from the studio, or if you have YouTube Premium, you can just go to any video and you can download them with the mobile application, right? Which, again, I've done briefly when it comes to, like, flights, right? Like, I would just download like a 2-3 hour video from some content creator and I would just have that to watch as I'm sitting inside a fucking pressurized tube flying from coast to coast. But yeah, this is something that obviously YouTube was not comfortable with, and even for other creators, for instance, right? Like Jeff Geerling, who made a video called I Replaced My Apple TV with a Raspberry Pi. So what he did in this video was he took away the Apple TV, right? The Apple TV that you can just go buy at Best Buy, you can stick in front, and you can just watch all your 4K dog shit on. What he did was he took his own movies, right, his own TV shows, he backed them up to his computer, and he routed them through that Raspberry Pi. So with that, or not Raspberry Pi, it was routed through a home server. The Raspberry Pi became a front end that he would use to basically access these movies on the internet. Now, of course, the reality of it is that I think a lot of people do this. I do this myself. Like, I back up a lot of my Blu-rays, DVDs, whatever, movies that I have, shit that I really enjoy. I put it on a NAS storage device, and I can watch it anywhere in my house or even beyond through the internet, right? And yeah, it's cool. It's awesome. I think a lot of people do it. But apparently YouTube did not enjoy this video, and they apparently said that this was considered harmful. So he received a second community guideline violation for showcasing a software known as blank on his Raspberry Pi 5. So of course, to read through it, what he had basically said was, I purposely avoid demonstrating any of the tools that are popularly used to circumvent purchasing movies, TVs, other media content. Or any tools that automatically slurp YouTube content. So content that would just download from YouTube and put it onto, like, your hard drive, without YouTube's permission, of course. In fact, in my own house, for multiple decades, he purchases physical media, which, congratulations, he puts it on a local NAS, yada, yada, yada. Now, thankfully, YouTube did actually go through and follow through with his appeal and, allowed him to absolutely showcase his video later on. But obviously for a content creator, and it gets even tougher when you're like a Linus Tech Tips, where like, if I get a guideline strike and I'm not allowed to upload for a week, like, hey, YouTube isn't my job. It's not something that's going to bankrupt me if I can't upload for a week or even longer. But for somebody like Linus, it's like, hey, I got to pay employees and God knows what else, and I have sponsor deadlines. Yeah, I'm pretty sure for a guy like him, losing a week time of uploading is absolutely going to cripple you a little bit financially. Let's be honest here. Now, he even talks about it. Last year in October, he had a strike for showing people how to use another software that was similar to software like Plex, for instance, where you could self-host your own movies, kind of like your own Netflix. And again, this is not harmful or dangerous software, unless, of course, it's harmful and dangerous to YouTube's bottom line. And that's what it seems like things are kind of headed to. Now, even when it comes to other software YouTube front ends that basically can deliver YouTube without you receiving any ads, even those services, and I would talk about what those services are, but I can't because of YouTube's restrictive TOS in this regard, even those guys received actual legal notices from YouTube because they were allegedly violating YouTube's API services. Now, of course, these services will say they don't understand, we never agreed to their TOS. So what's going to happen? Things will continue normally until they can't. Assume it's just the start. Assume they'll ask GitHub to take down repos. Assume the team won't be able to work on blank. You know what you have to do. So again, for companies that are FOSS privacy focused, I feel like a lot of this stuff is starting to exist simply because of how annoying YouTube is making the website in the grand scheme, right? Like, it's gonna obviously cost people to be, divisive or seek alternative options when it comes to YouTube turning their website into, again, cable television. And again, do I think that it's entirely like, can you blame YouTube at all for doing this? No, you can't. Obviously, I said this last time. I really do think that what we're looking at is very blatant proof that YouTube is incredibly unsustainable, I think. I think the broader internet, especially when it comes to things like content delivery, like full media, is probably getting to a point, guys, where I think it literally is just too unsustainable, right? Like, it's probably costing a lot of these services, especially YouTube, tons of money every goddamn year in order to distribute all this video. And I'm pretty sure there's pressure from above YouTube, like at Alphabet, at Google, to make this more of a profitable website. I don't just think that a platform is going to ruin the user experience unless they see some serious things. And for YouTube, right, they're not connected to this like you and me. They're not looking through, the viewer comments. They just look at how people are bouncing, how people are like, interacting. If the viewership doesn't go down and they keep boiling the frog, then really in their minds, it doesn't really matter. This is all needless screaming. Now, I think what's really wild about the dangerous stuff too is like, when I think of software that I've talked about, right? On YouTube, there's a lot of content creators that are sponsored by browsers like Opera GX. Now, I don't use Opera GX. In fact, I made a whole video where I don't really trust it. Not, out of any malicious thing. I just don't like to use overbloated, web browsers. But when it came to software like Opera GX, one of the biggest advertising things about it is, bro, we can block YouTube ads. And tons of creators advertise this, web browser on YouTube. And again, I'm wondering if those YouTubers aren't putting themselves at risk because YouTube might arbitrarily consider Opera GX to be dangerous or harmful software some point down the road. I mean, I've talked about one of my favorite browsers, the browser I use on a day-to-day basis, Brave browser. I'm wondering if that's going to be considered harmful or dangerous software because Brave is even more aggressive when it comes to ad blocking solutions on the platform. And for me, I choose to disable the Brave ad blocker because personally, I'm wondering if YouTube is going to crack even further and they're going to start focusing on the actual accounts that are running ad blocker, right? Like, will YouTube give me a community guideline strike because I'm watching another person's content, except with an ad blocker enabled, right? So I'm just watching every single ad because at this point, I just refuse to even jump into the premium pipeline simply because I don't really find it to be overly beneficial to me. All right, I have other services when it comes to music, for instance, and even streaming services at this point. But yeah, it's a wild, wild world. And this is all also on the cusp of, again, YouTube letting really shitty advertisements through. I wouldn't really care about the ad block stuff if YouTube cared at all about making sure that ad blocks, the ads on their platform, a lot of them weren't actually dangerous. Now, not only just that, guys, there's also a moderation problem. One thing that I'm sure you've noticed when it comes to my videos or plenty of your favorite content creators' videos is the rampant amount of bot comments. Now, even with a lot of YouTube moderation tools allowed, there are still so many comments where, you'll see things like racial slurs, you'll see just all caps bullshit thrown up, like my uploads are better, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the moment you connect to any of these like actual profiles, they'll lead to Discord channels where you go into those Discord channels and there's possible malware sitting there. Really bad shit can exist there. And again, it's all out there. It just is a severe problem on the website. And it's worth talking about because honestly, I wouldn't care if YouTube put the same amount of effort they did into fighting ad blocks. They should put roughly that same amount of effort into fighting whatever this spam nonsense is. Now, I'm not going to say something stupid like YouTube is dying. This might be the death knell of YouTube. YouTube is basically cable television for the younger generation going forward. But just because a platform is established doesn't mean that something else can't come out of nowhere and start taking actual market share. We used to think that, platforms like TikTok were never going to dominate or compete against YouTube. But here they are, and they dominate when it comes to short-form media. When I looked at sites like Twitch TV, I didn't think that, other platforms could come and pose a serious threat. And there have been other platforms. Notably, YouTube themselves is a great alternative to Twitch. If you go look at live streaming analytics from Stream Charts, for instance, you can see that Twitch, while it's currently the largest share, YouTube's not that far behind. And even other platforms like Kick aren't also even far behind either. So why is YouTube doing really well when it comes to live streaming? A, there's content creators over here. The platform is matching up to Twitch and is actually providing features that Twitch is now considering adding. So I didn't know this, but Twitch was going to add a rewind feature, right? Which is something hilarious because it's literally 2014 technology. Like even the earliest advent of YouTube streaming, forget current YouTube streaming, the functionality of a DVR was something YouTube already had for a while. Like if you watch any of my streams on YouTube, especially when I'm live, you can see that you can scroll all the way back. You can go like hours back in my streams and just watch, like you can get extra context. The fact that, sites like Twitch are adding these features much down the road later shows you that, yes, even if you're popular at one point, if you fail to innovate or keep up with the trends or you keep up with the technology, it doesn't prevent other platforms like YouTube or Kick to come and give you not just better technology, but maybe better rates to your streamers and so on and so forth. I used to think Microsoft Windows was going to be the most dominant operating system forever. But hey, we're looking at a time and a place where other alternatives are finally starting to pop up. And I really feel that if YouTube wants to keep their big lead, they need to, A, stop making the site too annoying to use. And also, they kind of need to embrace that if people are going to be watching content on their website, they should make the experience not just better. If you're going to put this much effort into fighting ads, you should be putting as much effort into fighting terrible ads that you still allow on the platform, and again, spam bots that lead people into some really dangerous corners of the internet. Now, again, it's okay to complain about YouTube, but I really feel like complaining for the sake of complaining isn't necessarily good, all right? And that's why one of the things that I want to do with my videos is also educate people into actual alternatives. So for instance, you may not like some of the alternative platforms that I show, but sites like Odyssey, for instance, are great platforms because what they can do is serve as alternative platforms for places where you want to upload videos without YouTube's restrictive TOS. So if I want to talk about, computer safety, or I want to educate people a little bit further, sites like Odyssey have a slightly less restrictive terms of service that we can still talk about for now, right? There are platforms like Rumble, for instance, that serve as direct competitors to YouTube. And maybe I don't like some of the content on here, but again, I think the competition really comes when a lot of creators who are very neutral or creators that just want to talk about general content all start flooding this platform together. And again, these are places where you can talk about anything that you want. Things like conspiracies, for instance, which are tightly controlled on YouTube. Sometimes maybe there's a sense to it. These platforms kind of are less restrictive. They allow just an alternative place. There are even places like PeerTube, which are great pieces of software because they allow an alternative, unfederated view of YouTube. So a lot of the content over here is actually people hosting their media on themselves. So for instance, places like Tilvids, Blender, a lot of these people produce their own content, they host it on their own servers, and using a platform like PeerTube, they allow you to basically watch people's videos on your mobile devices as if you were watching on YouTube, all without the big tech umbrella basically keeping you locked into their walled garden. Now again, if anything in this video pisses off YouTube or, triggers a community guideline strike, then I think it's a further example of me basically being right in this video, okay? Is that we kind of do need alternatives. We kind of need YouTube to at least moderate and be a little bit more forthcoming with what you can and cannot discuss on this website. Because the thing, honestly, as a content creator, one of the scariest things with this platform and any platform is wondering if the video you upload today won't be taken down in a week or 2 weeks because you chose to educate people on how to make their internet experiences better. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.